for being here. My name is Steve Hewitt. I am the CEO of the Kansas Turnpike, and it's my pleasure to be a part of this project and welcome you to our Matfield Green location here and to celebrate this opportunity to keep the memory alive of Knute Rockne. We have a long history with this memory and this memorial, and we recently did a remodel, as you know, of this facility. And so some of the stuff you saw from the past, that is at Chase County Museum. We're very pleased that they took that, but we wanted to keep the memorial alive here. And Dr. Bernie Kish approached us here with the Kansas Turnpike about potentially adding a memorial back here at Matfield Green. And Bernie, I'll introduce him here, is currently the lecturer at sports management for the University of Kansas. Prior to serving as executive director of College Football Hall of Fame in South Bend. And so we're proud to have him here with the Fighting Irish. I want to point out, though, as the Kansas Turnpike, before I bring up Bernie, we're very pleased to be a part of this. I've got my chairman of my board, Dave Lindstrom, a board member, Mike Peterson, and the Secretary of Transportation over here, Julie Lorenz. We are very honored and humbled to be a part of this. And I'd like to turn it over to Bernie to kind of walk you through the project. Bernie?
Thank you very much, Steve. First of all, we want to thank the Turnpike Commission. From the beginning, when I contacted Rachel Bell, Steve, and Eric Becker were very, very supportive, and we certainly appreciate that. So I think that this is really a great day for the state of Kansas, for the Turnpike Commission, for the people of Chase County, and the Rockne family. I also want to recognize our committee that worked so hard to try to put this together. Sue Ann Brown.
Back here in the corner.
Okay, Sue Ann Brown, who is the late Easter Tajchman's daughter. Sue Ann was what I call the lead leprechaun on this project. She was the go-to lady. She absolutely did everything. Larry Tholen, where's Larry? Larry was responsible. When you see the plaque, Larry's the one that did actually the verbiage on the plaque, did all the coordination with the plaque people and so forth. Then Mr. Rockne Slaymaker, Rockne Slaymaker. He is the gentleman who put together the pedestal. He's an award-winning Mason. He just got a big award in Kentucky. We're just absolutely delighted that he did that. And then a heartfelt thank you to the Rockne family. Nils and Knute III are here today, and you're going to hear from Nils a little later. Our keynote speaker this morning is my good friend, Jerry McKenna, the gentleman who put together the sculpture. He's a Notre Dame graduate, class of 1962. He had a long and distinguished military career in the United States Air Force, and in addition to being a sculptor, he is also a Knute Rockne historian. He has produced 250 sculptures worldwide. The sculpture, when you go to Notre Dame Stadium, you see sculptures of the national champion coaches. Those were done by Jerry McKenna. And his Four Horsemen of Notre Dame was recently voted the outstanding sculpture in collegiate athletics. So at this time, he's also accompanied today by his son, Michael Rockne McKenna. Michael, where are you? Michael, welcome. Good to have you. So without further ado, Jerry McKenna. Jerry?
When do you stand over in the front part?
Come on, don't be shy. We want
over there. I want to talk to her, and she got behind my back. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here today, and especially to meet up with all my old friends, the Rockne brothers back here, Nels, Knute, and Sue Ann and her husband John, and of course Bernie. But before I get started, I want to commend my son Michael. He drove all the way up here from San Antonio, Texas, just deadheaded up just for this event, and he'll go back, and I appreciate that. But after all, he was named Michael Rockne at birth. And I'd also, although I've only seen this much of it, I'd like to commend Rockne Slaymaker here for the pedestal that he created. And I'll kind of start off on that as a point of departure. The name is unusual. It's Rockne Slaymaker. There was another Rockne named Lars Rockne back in Voss, Norway in the late 1800s, who was also a sleigh maker, and he an actual sleigh maker. He made sleighs and he made carriages. In fact, they were so good that even the Kaiser of Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm, owned two of them. but I'll get to that later. Back in March 4th, 1888, Lars Knute Rockne and Martha, Peter's daughter, Jermo, had a son whose name was Knute Rockne. Now, he was baptized Knute Larsen Rockne in a 700-year-old church in the little town of Voss. If you've ever been there, it's the kind of place that you would want your ancestors to come from. It's on a mirror lake in the middle of a valley of snow-capped mountains. It's just a beautiful town, and I'm sure the Rocknes, I know that Knute has been there. But the boy was baptized in the old church, and high above the altar there's an angel suspended on a chain with a bowl. And he lowered that, and he was baptized in that bowl. It's still there, and then after the baptism ceremony, they crank it back up. In 1893, Lars decided to take a big step in his life. He wanted to display his carriages at the Columbian Exhibition in Chicago. So he went off there on his own to promote his carriage making. Unfortunately, he came along at a time in history where the carriage was on the way out and the automobile was soon to come in. But he wasn't discouraged. In 1895 or 93, he brought his family over. Knute was 5 years old at the time. And they settled in the north side of Chicago in the Logan Square area. And Knute went to the North Divisional High School, where he played football and ran track. He was most notable as a pole vaulter. And when he graduated from high school, he wanted to go to college, but he didn't have any money. So he decided that he set his sight on going to the University of Illinois, and he would work for 4 years at the post office in downtown Chicago and accrue enough money to do that. At the end of 4 years, he was on the verge of going to the University of Illinois. Imagine that, Knute Rockne of Illinois. But two of his friends were athletes at this small Catholic school in northern Indiana called Notre Dame, which, and you'll laugh at this, was noted because it had very low tuition. So Rockne changed his mind at the last minute and he went off to Notre Dame because he could afford that. His roommate his first year was a young man named Gus Ray, who was 4 years younger than him because Rockne by that time was 21 years old. He was like the oldest freshman in his class. And he did well there. He played for Jess Harper, a Kansan, and by his senior year he was captain of the team. At the season's end, he made All-American, and he did something very spectacular. He led the Irish team up to the plain of West Point to play the Army team, who was the giant of football in those days. And by using this play that hadn't really been developed too much in the older past, they were able to beat the Army 35-13. That was the year 1913. And it put Notre Dame on the map. It actually put Rockne on the map for the first time. Gus Ray also made All-American that year. Rockne graduated with honors in chemistry, and he decided to stay at Notre Dame to teach chemistry. He did so for 4 years, and he also helped Jess Harper with the football team. But when Jess' uncle died and Jess came back here to Kansas to run the farm or the ranch, Rockne was named head coach and athletic director in 1918. That was his first year. And from there he became a legend. Over the next 11 years, he won 105 games, lost 12, and tied 5 for a .881 percentage. Now that's almost winning 9 out of every 10 games you play. And he also developed a player by the name of George Gift and a famous backfield in 1924 named the Four Horsemen. I've done this sculpture portraying Rockne the way he would have looked the morning of March 31st, 1931, when he was up at Kansas City waiting to take off. You can see his collars up, windswept on the tarmac that morning. He was a little disappointed because he was supposed to meet his sons, Knute and Billy, and there was a misconnection, and they hadn't hooked up. They were in school, actually in Kansas City at the Pembroke County School, and so he was disappointed there. And of course, he boarded the airplane, and along with 7 other passengers, a pilot and co-pilot, died 8 miles northwest of here in a pasture, and flew on into eternity. He's looked upon as the greatest football coach of a major college in the history of the sport, but he's also looked upon as one of the best promoters of good sportsmanship that ever coached the game. And as Nels will portray in a prayer that Rockne wrote, he was very sympathetic to the winners and to the losers. He wasn't a loser very often, but in this prayer he does describe how to behave when you've lost the game. I'm very, very grateful for having the opportunity to do this sculpture of Rockne. It's the 9th one that I've done. I did them all the way from Voss, Norway, where he was born, to Notre Dame Stadium, where he coached. There's also a copy at the former College Football Hall of Fame in South Bend, and there's a sculpture of him that I did in Rockne, Texas. How many of you knew that a town in Texas was named Rockne? Again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with the committee and doing this sculpture. Thank you.
Now we're going to hear from Knute's grandson, Knute Rockne. Knute is a retired sales executive, lives just across Texas in Oklahoma. And I want to thank publicly Knute and Mills for, they did the heavy lifting in terms of the funding for this project. So Knute Rockne,
Thank you, Bernie. I want to thank the Turnpike Authority, all the numerous dignitaries that are out here today. We want to thank you so much for your support in making this event happen. We obviously want to thank special friends of ours of the family, is both Bernie Kish and Jerry McKenna. They held a very special bond with the Rockne family. They're just marvelous friends, and so we want to thank them. We want to especially thank Rocky Slaymaker and his work on this statue here. Michael McKenna for coming up today. He had a very long time, and I'm just amazed at the number of people that are here from all over the state. So we want to, the Rockne family wants to thank you very much for coming out today to honor my grandfather. And with that, I want to say this little prayer that Jerry was mentioning in his remarks. Dear Lord, in the battle that goes through on life, I ask for a field that is fair, a chance that is equal with all in strife, the courage to do and to dare, and if I should win, let it be by the code, my faith that by honor held high. And if I should lose, let me stand by the road and cheer as the winner rides by. I'm sorry, I always get emotional reading this. It just touches my heart. I want to tell one of my favorite stories, and I think it's kind of appropriate today. Obviously, my grandfather died in 1931, and I didn't come along until 1955, so I never knew it. But one of my favorite stories is when they were building the new stadium, which is the current stadium today, with minus all the marvelous add-ons that they have. He was meeting with the building committee, and there was a priest there, and he's looking at these drawings and these blueprints, and he asks the coach, "What's all this area around the stadium going to be?" And he said it's going to be parking. Now today's look of that stadium is minus all that parking. It was nothing but grass field. Today it's covered with buildings classrooms and what you wouldn't recognize them. But the comment that the priest made was he didn't believe that all that space was necessary. And it just kind of reminds me of that movie that Kevin Costner was in, Field of Dreams, where the comment is made, build it and they will come. Well, they're coming. So that's one of my favorite stories with that. But once again, on behalf of the Rockne family, thank you so much for showing up today. It's a great honor to have you guys come and pay tribute to my grandfather. So we thank you very much.
From the University of Notre Dame, one of the greatest running backs in Notre Dame history, Reggie Brooks. Reggie is currently working in the Monogram Club. He is the Director of Student Athlete Alumni Relations. Hails from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and as I mentioned, he was a stalwart for Lou Holtz from 1989 to 1992. Reggie Brooks.
I will keep this brief, but you know, on behalf of the University of Notre Dame and Notre Dame Athletic Department, I am grateful for the honor to be here and be a part of something as meaningful as dedicating this statue, this bust to Knute Rockne. You know, as I said, I'm a young black guy from Tulsa, Oklahoma that had no concept of where Notre Dame was before going there. My brother went there. And would have never even thought of going to Notre Dame because it was Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, you know, and Texas. But my dad, you know, talking about the grandfather, my dad was the reason that I came to Notre Dame. And part of that reason is because of the history of the university, not just as an athletic institution, but an academic institution. And Knute Rockne embodied what Notre Dame means to so many people. And it's not just a place for, you know, at that time, predominantly white male individuals. You know, because I didn't see myself there. But because my dad understood the history and what Rockne did by going out all over the country and selling Notre Dame and being an ambassador for Notre Dame, that's created the opportunity for an 18-year-old kid from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Booker T. Washington, to come to one of the most prestigious universities in the country. So I am indebted to Knute Rockne and the Rockne family for giving me that opportunity, because without that history and understanding that history and what Notre Dame meant, there's no way my dad would have even encouraged us to have the opportunity to go to such a prestigious and great university. So I have a great love for Rockne, the history of what he did, because he said, you know, Notre Dame was not the biggest place on the map back then. And it takes more than just one person to step out and do to bring others together. You know, we're in this climate now where, you know, being an immigrant is not the greatest thing. But you talk about an immigrant that came here and set to do something great. It's amazing what one man can do or one woman can do with the right heart, the compassion, and the love to do the right thing. It's that simple. Do the right thing. And that's what Rockne did on a daily basis. He stands for doing the right thing, not just for yourself, but for everybody else. And I think that's what this statue embodies. That's what his legacy embodies. It's not just one person or one university. It's all of us working together as a family, as a country, to do the right thing for one another. So thank you for having me the opportunity, giving me the opportunity to come here and be a part of this. And you know, this is one of those things I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. So thank you, Bernie, for inviting me. And thank you.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of Kansas Turnpike, we'd like to thank the Rockne family, Mr. McKenna, Bernie for putting this all together, Notre Dame staff, and the university, and all the volunteers that put this together, and all of you for coming out and celebrating this opportunity. I love those words you said. It's bigger than us, and this memorial can be bigger than us, and have a message that can go out and resonate for many years to come. And all the visitors that we have the millions of travelers that stop here every year to see this and celebrate it with us. So again, thank you for being here. We'll unveil this thing and have some refreshments. And again, thank you for everything.
He's hiding in the background, I'll tell you.